In this video, I thought I would do just a really brief little comparison of some, kind of a rundown of some obscure PC-based test equipment that you may never have heard of. I mean, because after all, this is the Analog Discovery. I lucked into that. I was watching a YouTube video on an IC, and this guy was using that thing. That's how I discovered the Analog Discovery. The Lotto, I just accidentally came across, I think on Amazon, doing obscure oscilloscope research, nothing to do with PC test equipment, because I was actually looking for PC test equipment, 2023 and 2022, but I couldn't find any. The only thing I'd find is a smartphone-based test equipment, and that's it. Now, of course, you'd find things like, the Handtech type oscilloscopes and stuff, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something that's more than an oscilloscope, typically, that's designed to be connected to the PC first and foremost. So, because I used to have something called the eLabs 060, from like 20 something years ago, and for a long time that was my main PC based oscilloscope. But it did a lot more than just oscilloscopes. Had an FFT in it, function generator, all that kind of stuff. So generally, I was looking for a modern version of something along that line because that was kind of antiquated. And I found the Lotto, and you can get these off Amazon. If you don't already know, you haven't seen my other videos comparing these, but you can get those off Amazon starting at like, about 85 bucks or something like that, for pretty decent specs. This is a higher end version, but it's pretty decent specs. And of course, Analog Discovery, they got the Discovery 2 you can still buy brand new, or the Discovery 3, but they're running damn near 400 bucks, so these guys are real proud of it. That's why I expect their software to be perfect, because shit, I could buy an entry level Rigol for that. Shit, even a 4-channel Rigol for nearly that, entry level. But you can get these off eBay like I did for, if you're lucky, a little over 100 bucks. So Analog Discovery 2s you can still find on eBay, for around 200-ish. But Analog Discovery 2 is pretty much exactly the same damn thing as Analog Discovery 1, which is what this is. It's just in a different case, and they have like a variable built-in power supply, which honestly you're going to need an external power supply anyway most of the time, so I wouldn't go spend too much money on that. This is exactly the same damn thing, just a lot cheaper and not in as nice looking of a case. Now the Analog Discovery 3 does have some interesting new features in it, but like built-in digital filtering and stuff like that, which is curious. And I think its specs are still roughly the same, just a little improved, but still, if I were you, I'd get an Analog Discovery 1, honestly, because I still didn't see that much compelling about the Discovery 3 to justify the price tag. So, and before I forget this, and I really should, this, hold on. This is Analog Discovery's waveforms software, which is free. You can buy it. You don't need to have a product. And what's really neat about it, and is that you can actually run it. If you try starting it up, you can actually run it in demo mode, right? Hold on a second. Let me try to show you this. Okay, here we are. If you try to open up waveforms and you don't have a device on your system, it gives you that warning message. But what it allows you to do is to test out in demo mode all of their devices. But you'll notice this thing down here, it says sound card. That's a sound card based oscilloscope, so it'll actually work with the sound card on your computer, and it's free of charge, and it'll have, it'll be able to generate arbitrary waveforms, and has a single channel scope. See, but I think it only has one channel of each. I don't know if it allows you more than one or not. Maybe it does. It was supposed to, but let's go ahead and select that and see what happens. But So let's go to scope mode and see if it runs. I've never tried it on this computer. I have tried it on the other computer. There it is. Now it's probably seeing my voice. Yep, that's coming from my microphone, so hopefully it's not fucking with the audio on the video. The point is, you can do this and you can generate arbitrary waveforms with it, or sine waves, or whatever. Again, it can do some cool shit. It's just built into it. And again, it's most sound cards are at least 16 to 24-bit resolution, and will do usually over 44 kilohertz. Some of them, upwards of 100 kilohertz these days. I think most of them do. I think. So at the end of the day, the Tiny SA, or the Nano VNA, actually is built around a sound card chip. That's how they do all their processing, is from a sound processor, out of a sound card, basically. So, but this does this free of charge. You can get this off the internet right now, and now, my advice is, if you do, go to Elliott Sound Products site, and I'm not affiliated with him, by the way. I've never even emailed him. I thought about it a couple of times, but the fact of the matter is, go to his his card. Look up Elliott Sound Products. Which these are a lot of his articles, and in there he has an article where he talks about a PC oscilloscope front end. So he shows you how to build an input attenuator and stuff like that to safely hook it to your computer. So you might look at that. There's probably similar places out there. If you look up Elliott Sound Products, again, I don't know which one it is, but that's his website right there, as you're seeing here. And just do a Google search with Elliott Sound Products in there, and and say PC oscilloscope or something like that. You'll find what I'm talking about. So he has an article on the subject. You can probably dig around on a site and find it if you want to do it that way. But anyway, that's just a cool little discovery I made not long ago. That here's your PC oscilloscope. So if you want a real cheap oscilloscope and function generator, well, here you go. But you might want to do a little front end work on it, to actually hook it up to your PC and use it as an oscilloscope. But basically, it'll work like an oscilloscope with a microphone and a speaker. In fact, geez, this might really be screwing with the audio on my video. I don't know what's going to happen here, but let's try to run this. Yep, there we go. So, it's generating an arbitrary waveform right there, and you can hear it right on the PC speaker. So, anyway, it's just really neat. It's free and easy to play with. So, I don't have any special equipment hooked up to my computer for this whatsoever. So, damn it. It opened up twice. Damn it. Fuck off. Okay, but anyway, back to the point of the video. Now, these are the, devices I actually got, right? But in my process of research, I also found, again, the Lotto, the one I have, is capable of 200 megasamples, so it's like twice as fast as the Discovery. But its function generator is kind of lame, but still, it's a nice little scope, and really is great with, as far as aliasing is concerned. It's almost like an analog scope, so it's really worth taking a look at, especially with its entry-level price tag, because it has like a 50 megasample one for like, $80, but it comes with all the little bells and whistles too. On Amazon, you can find it. Of course, Analog Discovery, my advice is eBay. Again, you're well aware of what that can do. But I also found some other bizarre devices that are obscure, including one I'm still chewing on right now, which is basically this ADLM 1000, which I discovered doing research on an IC. I'd never heard of it again. And this is really obscure too. You're not going to even find that many YouTube videos on the thing. I almost feel like just buying one so I can make a shitload of YouTube videos about it, honestly, because there really is a lack of information out there. That's how obscure it is. But it's manufactured by Analog Devices. And Analog Devices had a lot to do with Analog Discovery when it came out. So that's why it's called Analog Discovery, really, is because of Analog Devices. There's a lot of Analog Devices hardware in there, but I guess they got estranged and went their separate ways, because Analog Discovery is like only $100 when that first came out, and then they started getting real proud of it. So, which probably isn't what Analog Devices wanted to see, because they probably wanted something kind of affordable, to try to promote people using analog device chips, right? Great way to do that. That's what AutoCAD did. That's why they didn't mind people copying their software in the early days. That's why AutoCAD became king. Autodesk became king versus all the other CAD software out there that was better. Because everybody knew how to use it, because everybody had a free copy of it. Every amateur did. Um, but at any rate, they were trying to kind of do something along that same line with this, I suspect. But it was a very interesting looking little deal. It's called a PSU, which is a programmable supply unit. And it works differently than Analog Discovery. In fact, you can kind of tell what it does, sort of what it does here, basically. It's got a source, voltmeter, all right. You can look at these two dots as the outputs on this thing, but it's got a voltmeter that measures across it, so you can use it like a conventional voltmeter or oscilloscope, right? But it also has an ammeter built into it, which it uses another one of its voltage channels to actually determine. It's got like a current to voltage chip, so it'll measure, fairly precisely voltage or current. It supposedly can go up to plus or minus 200 milliamps on current, but it's of course just like Analog Discovery, limited to 5 volts, but even a little worse, honestly. Um, but you can basically select whether you just want to use it as a meter, because you cannot use it as a separate ammeter, but you can select its mode to either be tri-state, which means you can use it as a voltmeter, or you can have it tied to a constant voltage source, like a WaveGen, for example, on Analog Discovery. It's a waveform generator that comes out of this, and you can measure the current coming out of the waveform, right, in terms of voltage and how it's being loaded at the same time measuring the voltage on that same channel. And then you can also switch it down to this mode, which is what really intrigued me, and that's a arbitrary current waveform generator. I've never seen that before. Okay, you can actually, just like you can generate arbitrary voltage waveforms with this thing, you can generate arbitrary current waveforms with it too. And again, measure the current and voltage and all that crap with it simultaneously. Needless to say, you can do some bizarre things with it. It's got 2 channels like that. And they do have a more expensive new version they came out with this, but they got rid of this whole idea. The new version is just like Analog Discovery. There's nothing special about it. It's even the Analog Discovery is better because shit, that's got like differential probes on it built in, put to it by default. I've never seen another scope especially like this. Lotto does not have differential probes, and it's only an 8-bit scope, but still it's pretty fast. But those are standard probes like you get in a Handtech or something like that. Whereas the Analog does have built-in differential probes to begin with, so that's one of the interesting points about it that sets it apart. Which, if you use this stupid module, you don't have differential probes anymore. So that's why I rigged up this thing, as I've talked about in many videos. But at any rate, this thing is unique, in what it does, like I just explained to you. And it sure occurred to me that, holy shit, if you bought one of these things, you should be able to directly test a transistor with it, for its family of curves without even having to bias it. Because if you can generate a current-based waveform, what do you need biasing networks for? You can just plop a device in there and test it. The only problem is that even though this thing has 16-bit resolution and it's frequency limited, only 100 kilohertz, which is another drawback it has. Versus the Analog Discovery, because even that sound card I just showed you, it can do upwards of 100 kilohertz. So, but because this does what it does, it has some unique possibilities. The problem is you can't test transistors that way. You know why? You can't go down that low on current, not low enough. It bottoms out at about 0.3 milliamps. Most currents, through a transistor is going to be, in the mid microamp range usually. Now, if you're trying to get a family of curves out of it, you would want it to be in the, low to mid microamp range at most, just to measure a regular bipolar transistor, let alone like a Darlington or something. I mean, yeah, it just doesn't have the resolution. So, But there is a lot of educational material on it. And again, I'm really these things are only like $70, on Mauser. So DigiKey sells them too. I mean, they're pretty affordable if you don't have another option. They're way cheaper than Analog Discovery. And given the fact they do some bizarre stuff, it's really highly recommended, to go look at their website. And it's education. I mean, I spent over a week, solid week, chewing on the damn thing, just trying to think of whether it was really worth buying it, because I was really, but this is something you're not going to easily find spec sheets on. This is not a spec sheet. You have to really dig around on their site to even find out what their current limits are and everything else. The limits of their measuring capabilities. It's just really, they're dodgy as hell about it. But I'll tell you this little kit they have, you can buy this off Mauser too, for like $100, and it's chock full of all kinds of analog devices parts and modules and stuff. It would cost you well over the $100 or so it costs you to buy this kit if you were to buy these things individually. I mean, it's actually quite a bargain. So problem is, I don't know that I really need the parts in there, but boy, if you're trying to get some parts list, you want some higher end parts, yeah, that's actually a really good deal. I actually really recommend that. And again, you can find that on Mauser if you just look it up. Just look up. I forgot what they call that thing. But you can find it on their Analog Devices website. You just do some digging. It'll lead you, to all that stuff, and you can find, that parts kit. Because I forgot what it was called exactly. It's it's been like a month since I looked into this thing. I don't know. You can find it. You'll just have to do some digging. It's actually pretty easy to find, but there's no direct link to their site, so I'd have to go dig for it. I don't want to bore you with that. But at any rate, this is something that, if you're really looking for an affordable device that's unusual, and you can do a lot of interesting things with it, and they do have a lot of educational videos, but not that many videos, because there really aren't that many videos about this goddamn thing. But they do have some on their website. Again, you got to dig for those too. You'll find next to nothing on YouTube about it. That's a big red flag to me. That's one of the other reasons I've had a real hard time, because how are you going to know what this thing can do if you don't have average people showing you what they're doing with it? So there's that, and but still, it's cheap, and and it looks capable, and they do have a lot of good little educational, text written, like almost not PDFs, but PDF like little pages they did, on educational things you could do with it. A whole shitload of it too. I mean, you could learn a lot just by going through that course. If you're a beginner in electronics and the price is right, and their course is based on that module kit, so I do advise you get that, and that would give you a good, if you're starting out in electronics, a good little parts kit to start with, because it's full of a bunch of different stuff. I mean, it's a really good, it's basically an ADLM. Again, I don't remember what I did with it. It's ADALM 2000 or something like that. But again, you can find it on Mauser. I had all those things bookmarked way back when. I doubt that I can easily enough find them. They're in here. Nope, that's not it. I think they're towards the bottom of the list. I don't know. Nucleo. Nope, that's not quite it. No, digital. Oh, here we go. Yeah, ADM 1000. See, that's Mauser. That's what you're just seeing, and that's from Mauser. Damn it. Yeah, I spent, like I said, a lot of time looking at that. I got a whole bunch of bookmarks related to it somewhere. Yeah, I'm not seeing it here. Yeah, pretty much most of my bookmarks are like this. I can never find anything really. I mean, I get so much variety of crap. Everything. Every time I see something of interest, I still like to try to save it just in case. But I usually have to spend a lot of time going to sorting them out eventually, and eventually I always do. Um, uh, well, still, it's from Mauser, so I mean, again, that doesn't get us anywhere. Flying ant, pieces of shit. So, but at any rate, that's just do your own digging. I mean, you'll find it. Try to save you some time there, but wasted your time. Anyway, some other modules I came across too in the process are noteworthy. I mean, I don't know if this is any good or not. It's pretty cheesy, but it's like a 5-channel little data oscilloscope on Amazon for like $54. So, you can kind of, look this up for yourself. And I first discovered this on Walmart's, website for, oddball people advertising on there. So this is fairly new, but that might be a possible starter scope you can look at. Again, I wasn't that impressed with it, obviously. I mean, it was only, it's pretty low frequency and stuff, but still, I mean, not totally useless if you're sitting there with no scope and wanting to consider possibilities. Like a 150 kilohertz or so. Again, that sound card I told you about can do, maybe upwards of 100, but you might have to DIY it a little bit. But it can measure frequency and, various things like this. So, just have a look at it. Another thing I noticed was this little thing, for $29. Don't know anything about it. Again, 750 kilosample, I guess that's not too terrible. 1 mega sample arbitrary generator, supposedly. Again, it's only $25, and I'm not really sure. Yeah, it says it's compatible with Windows, Mac, and everything, and so it's on Amazon too. So you can kind of look that up and look into it. Again, it's affordable enough. I don't own one, but it's affordable enough to where you can kind of look into it. So just like this other thing was. Then and that's pretty much it for the actual PC oscilloscopes, except that there was this little noteworthy thing that I would spent 30 minutes looking for, because I first came across this on Amazon. This is on Amazon somewhere, but it's this little module here. It's actually just a 4-channel voltmeter sort of oscilloscope, but it's going to be fairly low frequency. But what's interesting about it is that because they actually tailored this max chip here, and you can kind of see the number right on it. And it's actually a 4-channel ADC that has an address, so you can select the pin, and it's basically this chip right here, this Max 114 CNG. Those are available for about $15, but they don't connect directly to a PC, so they actually hooked it up to a microcontroller or something like that with a USB port and stuff. Apparently this is pretty old. I mean, I think it's like Windows, XP or something like that. But it was kind of interesting. It's noteworthy, and again, this is a ridiculous price. When I saw it on Amazon, it was like $30, about the same price that other thing I was showing you was. So but it's a 4-channel voltmeter, because that's what I was looking for, is a PC voltmeter at the time. I was wondering if there was such a thing. So this was curious. Anyway, it's just noteworthy, and it's so obscure, I thought I'd draw it to your attention so you could do your own homework on it. It wasn't suitable for what I wanted to do, but it was something I happened across, and I wasn't even looking directly for something like that. I was actually looking for a voltmeter that hooked to the PC at the time on Amazon for copious numbers of hours. But anyway, this is a little spectrum analyzer I was strongly kind of looking at for a little while, until I did a lot of research on it, and a lot of people say it ain't that great, but supposedly goes up to 4.4 gigahertz, and I was considering along the same lines as whether I should get the the Tiny SA, the new Tiny SA or not, which I never did, but Um, I had other options that it turned out I didn't need it. And this is the same thing in a box. So, but yeah, the cheap price. You can find these on eBay and stuff too for a little cheaper, and not much cheaper, but a little cheaper. But again, these didn't have great reviews, so I was really skeptical. But if you get it on Amazon Prime, well, you can always send it back. It doesn't live up to your expectations. That's what I love about Prime. Anything's on Prime, you don't have to worry about it as much. Um, um, yeah, this isn't on Prime. It ships from these guys. So if it ships from those guys, it ain't. Instead of Amazon, it ain't on Prime. And lastly, this was noteworthy. This isn't really. I mean, it's a PC-based test equipment, but it's actually a photo spectrometer, and for like $180. And this is right from these guys, but these guys are legitimate. They're like, I don't know, either based in the U.S. or in the U.K., something like that. But maybe in France, I can't remember. But they are legitimate. But yeah, if you need a spectrum analyzer so you can look at LED wavelengths and and other emission types of sunlight, whatever, it's kind of neat. And this is a PC-based scope to do it. You can hook it up to a laptop or whatever, and and go have some fun with it. It's not too terribly priced. I wish I could buy one, but it's a little expensive for me right now, unfortunately. And there, if you go to the website, there are a whole lot of expensive other options they have, of course. So, but it's just it's obscure, and a lot of people may not know that something like this exists. So there are a number of videos on YouTube about this and everything else. So if you're curious, you can look at that. And this thing. Oh, yeah, this thing's noteworthy too. If you're interested in laser light shows and doing your own, this is the sort of thing you need to actually do it. It's called a Galvo, and these things are rather pricey, but still, it's on Amazon Prime. But you can actually program these things with a PC. And again, this is a pretty raw kind of DIY project, and I've not had any direct experience for myself because Galvos have always been so expensive. There are other ways of doing things like this, like you can take a mirror and kind of tape it between two loudspeakers. I've seen that done, to kind of make crazy lisiduous patterns, on your ceiling and shit. But this, you could actually write with it, make some stuff like this, laser light shows, that thing. You actually have direct control over the thing. So if you're interested in laser light shows and doing kind of your own kit for whatever reason, this is the way to go. And it's kind of an obscure thing. I just lucked across it. So, but here it is on Amazon. So, at any rate, yeah, I mean, I've got shitloads of stuff like this, on my shopping list. You just wouldn't believe the hours I spent shopping on Amazon, because Amazon's a bunch of assholes that makes their search engine so inefficient. You have to literally spend thousands of hours trying to find the best deals, or even just what you're looking for. They do that shit on purpose too, and the Federal Trade Commission ought to fucking crack down on them big time, and anybody that does that, because they've just taken it to the nth degree. It's like the grocery store that makes it so you can't easily go get what you want. You got to go on a fucking maze, to try to get to your stuff. It's just bullshit. But they do it just with to the nth power, on these digital sites. And somebody, because even eBay's gotten like that. Their search engine ain't as good as it used to be, as a lot of people damn well know. So yeah, that kind of shenanigan, that needs to be stopped. But at any rate, still did find all this shit. So it gives you a few options. If you're looking for some test equipment for various price ranges. So especially if you're new to electronics, it's a it's a little a set of resources to consider, is what I'm trying to say. That aren't cell phone based, because really, if you're thinking about getting into electronics, you're going to do it with a smartphone. That's like the dumbest fucking thing you can do, because there's just I don't even want to go into it, because those interfaces and those kinds of things, and you're still going to have to carry something around with you in addition to your cell phone to do that's an actual piece of test equipment. But then then you got to fumble with your cell phone on top of that, because they didn't want to build a screen into it. If you're kind of trying to make it portable, do that. But the cell phone usually doesn't have a very good interface to it. So again, you're just better off sticking with PCs if you want to, if you're serious about electronics. If you're not, okay, go for the smartphone stuff if you can find when you find it. So, but that's just me. So anyway, as long as it's simple, it makes sense. But if it's more elaborate than a voltmeter or something, that really doesn't make sense. But even a voltmeter, why don't you just go buy yourself a DMM? It's going to be way more capable than most cell phone test equipment. And of course, a lot of DMMs these days will actually interface to a smartphone on top of that. So, and that actually can be quite useful. So, I actually do have a few DMMs like that will work with a smartphone or tablet. And I'd rather it work with a PC, honestly, so I could actually more easily save the waveforms and everything. But shit, I mean, I can deal with it in that form if it, does data loggings and stuff like that. So I do have a few meters that do that. So, but in general, if you're really serious about electronics, you can buy that as a novelty, but don't buy that as like your main piece of equipment that you're planning on studying with, because really, the whole world doesn't revolve around a smartphone. So anyway, just wanted to say that. So and show you the options out there. So cheers.